You may wonder why this clearly white old lady has been asked to speak about the eighth principle. I hate to admit it, but after more than 50 years as a member of this congregation, I have participated in many changes and observed how the congregation has shifted its thinking. The time has come for all of us to grapple with the difficult issue of racism, and adopting the eighth principle is a first step on this journey. Based on our history, I know this congregation is willing and able to make changes, to recognize our faulty assumptions, and to move towards valuing the contributions of every person. This process can be hard and imperfect, but we've achieved it when we've listened to one another, built awareness of our faulty preconceptions through personal interactions that surprise and enlighten us, and responded to the initiative for change within our midst. As a young new member of this congregation, I was sure that the long-established members of the church would not support our upstart young adult group. It was called the Rufus P. Cutler Chowder and Marching Society, so we were coming from a somewhat challenging position. To test those long-established members, we held a spaghetti supper fundraiser and waited to see if any of them would show up. To our surprise, every one of the people we had pegged as set in their ways showed up, and we learned they were very interesting, willing to have fun, and receptive to what we had to say. Many of them became longtime friends. When I worked in the financial district, I complained that I didn't know why the city was spending money to put ramps in the sidewalks for wheelchair users. I never saw anybody in the financial district in a wheelchair. Of course, after the ramps were in place, wheelchairs were everywhere, and I had to admit my ignorance of the problem. This congregation also learned about the limitations we did not see and have made many changes to address them. As a congregation, we have changed slowly and not always smoothly. When I first joined the church, there was a great uproar over whether we would host one of the Black Panther breakfasts that were offered to children in African American churches. The Black Panthers were feared by many in the congregation, and the vote over whether we would offer our church for a breakfast split the congregation. Many members resigned from the church when the motion passed. A short time later, when we contacted the Black Panthers, they told us there was no way they would offer a breakfast to Black children at this lily-white church. It was a hard lesson and a confrontation that did not address racism. We can address racism by listening to the people of color in our congregation when they tell us what they need, rather than speculating on our own and making a misguided attempt. The difference this time is the call to action is coming from within our congregation. I realize that some of us find the wording of the eighth principle awkward and full of wiggle words. Having served on the task force developing our mission and vision statements, I can assure you that crafting the wording for statements like these is a painful and nearly impossible task. Don't worry about the wording. It is the concept that is important. We need to adopt the eighth principle in order to state clearly that we are willing to learn and change, just as we have in the past.